Hello guys, I have noticed that people have very different opinions about the peace talks in Saudi Arabia between the Ukrainian and American delegations yesterday. Some see it as an important breakthrough and almost congratulate us with victory, and others are super worried that Trump managed to trick Zelensky and we are capitulating. Well, in reality, actually, it is nothing. What we feel here in Ukraine, what I see in many European media, is that all these talks between American and Ukrainian delegation in Saudi Arabia was more of a performance for Donald Trump. Right after the end of these negotiations, lots of European leaders expressed their gratitude and hundreds of compliments to Donald Trump, understanding that's what he needs. And Ukraine got weapons and intelligence back. But of course, we understand it can change tomorrow. Nobody trusts the present White House administration, I am sorry, but we judge people by their actions. And honestly, if you are a smart person, just think about that. Peace talks between Ukraine and the United States. Are we at war? Of course not. There was no Russian delegation there, and Donald Trump himself, as the President of the United States, decided to summarize the end of these peace talks with a very powerful phrase. Now we need to go to Russia and check if Putin agrees. Well, I've got used to live in the world where the President of the United States is way stronger than the Kremlin dictator. Luckily, we still have President Zelensky and many other leaders who control the process. But let's discuss why these negotiations in Saudi Arabia is actually quite a complicated political, democratic, diplomatic trap for Donald Trump. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, and that is the only working peace plan, subscribe, we discuss all of that on the channel. So yesterday, the delegation from Ukraine and the delegation from the United States met in Saudi Arabia to discuss the future negotiations, peace or ceasefire with Russia. Many people were following the events during the day, and I can tell you sincerely that way fewer people in Ukraine were that attentive to what was happening in Jeddah. Well, first of all, because we don't trust Trump, Rubio, we know our red lines, and 100% we know Putin. He does not want peace. He wants war. He may need a pause because of his military or economic problems, or he may not want this pause because it's actually very difficult to stop such a huge war machine. And he wants Ukraine to capitulate and then to continue with other European countries and also with this destabilization of the United States. So it's quite obvious Putin does not want peace, and the only person right now is responsible for this war, once again, is Putin. And it was really funny to read how many people commented that American and Ukrainian delegations made a breakthrough, a sensation. They agreed to start this ceasefire, to stop shooting, to stop. Guys, please remember, it was Russia that attacked Ukraine. And during all of this time, during these 3 years of the full-scale invasion, 11 years since they've started attacks on Ukraine, annexed Crimea and so on, during all of this time, Ukraine is just defending itself. We simply defend our lands. So it is super easy to persuade us to stop the war if You guarantee us security, territorial integrity, and also make all the Russian soldiers leave the Ukrainian territory. You don't need to be master strategist, super diplomat, or politician. With Ukraine, it's very simple. We are not an aggressor. So to demonstrate that Ukraine does not want war, that Ukraine wants to start rebuilding, living normal life, is very simple. Just like talk to any Ukrainian. But we do care about the survival of our country, our nation, our independence, our territories. And Russia will never accept that. And right now, Donald Trump is in a very serious situation. I am sure that after that staged ambush in the Oval Office, our president worked a lot with other European leaders, potentially with Starmer, with Macron, who provided him and our diplomatic team with 1,000 of really good advice on how to flatter Donald Trump. I personally don't like such attitudes. I think he's a grown-up and should live normal life. But when needed to get our weapons and intelligence back, these diplomats decided to play by the rules. And they spent like more than 8 hours talking to Rubio and other American representatives, and in the result got this summary, which is okay and does not violate any of our principles. Subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine, and please share these videos on your social media platforms. That's important, and I'm very grateful for any your reaction. So for Ukraine, it was not a big deal. We did not trade anything. We've mentioned that we are prepared for a ceasefire if Russia will do the same. And right now, they need to persuade Russia to do the same, and I'm sure they will fail, because throughout all of this history, Russia never follows the rules of the ceasefire and promises. I can count dozens of various agreements and ceasefires that Russia violated. And Trump will need to explain it somehow to his supporters. And right now, he is waiting for the decision in Moscow, and he's prepared to have a conversation with Putin. He said something bigger than a phone call. Will it be a one-night stand? I'm sorry. Well, perhaps a teleconference or something like that is planned for Friday. And this, once again, demonstrates us there are no preliminary agreements. There is no peace plan. There is just like traditional Trump talk. I'm the greatest, I know what to do, and so on. So after these peace negotiations, European leaders, perhaps laughing deep down inside, complimented Trump with various strong ideas that he managed to persuade Ukraine to what? Like, all of us want Russia to stop killing us, but Russia does not have this on their agenda. And there were a lot of quite negative comments coming from the Kremlin. They were saying that all the important decisions can only be taken in Moscow, all the agreements designed in Moscow. And I think that Putin may actually try to push Trump to the maximum, because from one point of view, he sees this Trump's fever. I'm sorry if that's okay, but he literally acts as a person with a very high temperature, on a very high speed, and he needs the war to end without any like deep understanding of the background context or the steps that should be taken. And Putin may actually demand a lot, understanding that Trump needs that by, I don't know, April 14th. I don't know how he decides on the dates. And of course, no one in Ukraine, no one in Europe will agree to the demands that Putin, Lavrov repeat all the time. with giving up Ukrainian territories that we control just because the crazy Kremlin goblin put them in the constitution. And you know, very often in their BS conversations, they speak that they don't want ceasefire, they want this lasting peace with the destruction of the reasons that caused this war. And you know that the main reason of this war is Russian imperial character and the desire of Putin to recreate the Soviet Union. So the very existence of independent Ukraine goes against this plan. So if we were realistic, and here I have like a linguist in me objecting towards all of this like nonsense, like Ukraine and the United States agreed on peace. Guys, we are not at war. We are countries that want peace, but unfortunately to get this peace we need to defeat and demilitarize Russia. And I believe whether he is a Russian asset or not, at a certain moment of time, Trump will reach this edge when he understands there is no way he can influence Putin, but with lots of weapons, lots of intelligence for Ukraine. I'm not sure he will do that. I personally believe he will escape from the stage. He will find an explanation, blame Zelensky, blame Ukraine, blame Martians, or I don't know, anyone for this failure, when once again the only person to blame for that will be Putin. And right now I'm sure that this Kremlin dictator is designing potential conversations and agreements he will try to push via Trump. But I'm sure Trump team has already noticed that Ukraine is a strong country, that we know what we want, and in our case this is freedom, this is independence, and this is security guarantees. This also gives time for our European partners to mobilize and to be prepared to substitute the support from the United States, which I think will end. You know that we are working on Starlink substitutes and other stuff. By the way, it's so cute to see how Elon Musk is disappointed with people not wanting Tesla. And honestly, when I see the design of these cars, that he actually glued a lot of elements, I wonder why did people buy them at all. And Trump has illustrated that he's really good at making people millionaires. The problem is that before his term, these people were billionaires. Anyway, we have to understand there will be a lot of such meetings, a lot of such negotiations. All of us agree on the same. We want peace, we want security, and Russia does not understand normal diplomatic language. And don't take it seriously. For me, and like the majority of Ukrainians agree, it was a necessary step, quite a staged for performance, supported by our European allies, to some extent to flatter Trump, but at the same time to corner him. Like, well, now do your negotiations with Moscow. And he will fail dramatically, because either he will keep repeating Putin's demands, or he will understand the only way to bring peace to Ukraine and to stop the dying is to defeat and demilitarize Russia. Please share this video, join the community of the channel, and follow me on Instagram, X, Threads, Discord, and Blue Sky. Be careful, there are scammers. I never invite you to chat in private, always report them. Check our merch shop, there are lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need that. We have a special drop, Stand with Ukraine, and other t-shirts that demonstrate your support. It may be a good fashion choice for various rallies or even a day at work. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!